The smell of cinnamon rolls hit me the moment I opened the car door. That sweet, buttery scent that used to mean home. Used to mean Sunday mornings with my mom humming in the kitchen, flour on her apron, my brother stealing pieces of dough when she wasn't looking. Now it just made my stomach hurt. Mom? Are you sure about this? My son, Marcus, was 13 and already too good at reading my face. He sat in the passenger seat, still buckled in, his dark eyes searching mine through the rearview mirror's reflection. Behind him, my daughter Lily, 10 years old with braids I'd spent an hour perfecting that morning, pressed her face against the window. Grandpa's house looks so pretty, she said softly. Look at all the lights. My father had always gone overboard with decorations. The colonial-style house was draped in white fairy lights, a massive wreath hung on the door, and I could see the glow of candles through the front windows. It looked like a magazine cover. It looked like the kind of home where families gathered and laughed and made memories. It looked like a lie. We're sure, I said, trying to sound confident. It's Thanksgiving weekend. Family time. Marcus didn't move. He didn't even call you back when you texted. He was right. I'd sent 3 messages over the past 2 weeks. Looking forward to brunch. Should we bring anything? Can't wait to see everyone. 1-word responses. Fine. No, sure. But this was my father. This was my family. And I'd driven 2 hours with my kids because I wanted to believe that blood still meant something. That the holidays could smooth over the rough edges. That maybe, just maybe, this year would be different. Come on, I said, unbuckling my seatbelt. Grandpa's probably just busy getting everything ready. We walked up the stone pathway. Marcus carrying the pumpkin pie I'd baked at midnight because I couldn't sleep. And Lily holding a card she'd made with glitter and construction paper. She'd written Happy Thanksgiving, Grandpa, in careful, crooked letters. I knocked. The door swung open, and there he was. Gerald Monroe, 72 years old, silver hair perfectly combed, wearing a burgundy sweater that probably cost more than my monthly grocery bill. My father, the man who'd taught me to ride a bike. The man who'd walk me down the aisle. The man who'd stopped calling after the divorce. His eyes moved from me to Marcus to Lily, then back to me, and he smirked, not a smile, a smirk. The corner of his mouth lifted in that way that meant he was about to say something cutting, something designed to land like a punch. Audrey, he said, you made it. Of course we did, Dad. We said this was meant to be a nice day. His voice was loud enough that I heard conversation stop inside the house. Why did you come? The world tilted. Lily's hand found mine, her small fingers squeezing tight. Marcus went rigid beside me, the pie still balanced in his hands. What? My father sighed, like I was being deliberately difficult. Your brother's here with his family. Mitchell brought Jennifer and the twins. We've got a full house. It was supposed to be immediate family only. I am immediate family. My voice sounded strange. Too high. Too desperate. Dad, I'm your daughter. You know what I mean. He glanced over his shoulder, then stepped out onto the porch, pulling the door mostly closed behind him, blocking the entrance, blocking us out. Mitchell organized this whole thing. He's been planning it for weeks. And with everything that's happened with you and Trevor, my divorce has nothing to do with it. Just seemed easier to keep things simple this year. Small. You understand? I didn't understand. I couldn't understand. This was the man who'd sung me lullabies, who'd stayed up all night when I had pneumonia at 7, who'd told me I could be anything I wanted to be. Drop your city in the comments, let's see how far this story travels. I wanted to scream into the void, to know I wasn't alone in this moment, that somewhere out there, someone else knew what it felt like to be unwanted by the person who was supposed to love you unconditionally. Dad, my throat was closing up. We drove 2 hours. The kids got dressed up. Lily made you a card. For just a second, something flickered across his face. He looked down at my daughter, at the glittery card clutched in her hand, now slightly crumpled. Then his jaw tightened. I didn't ask you to do that. Marcus made a sound. Not quite a word, just a sharp exhale of disbelief. Behind the door, I heard laughter. My brother's voice, loud and jovial. Someone clinked glasses. More laughter. They were celebrating. Without me. Without us. Is this because of Trevor? I asked. The question burned coming out. Because he called you? Because he fed you his version of what happened? My father's expression didn't change. Trevor's a good man. Always treated you well. I don't know what you were thinking, throwing all that away. He cheated on me. For 3 years. With his dental hygienist. Marriages take work, Audrey. Your mother and I had our rough patches too. Mom never slept with someone else. Don't be crude. He actually looked disgusted at me for stating a fact. The point is, you gave up. You quit. And now you're struggling, living in that apartment, working all those hours, dragging these kids through your mess. Don't. Marcus stepped forward, his voice shaking but firm. Don't talk about my mom like that. My father blinked, as if just now remembering my children were people. Not props. Not problems. People, Marcus. This is between adults. You're being mean to her. This from Lily. Her voice small but clear. You're being mean to my mama. Something broke inside my chest. Not my heart that had been breaking for a while now, in small fissures and hairline cracks. This was different. This was the moment you realize that some things can't be fixed. That some people won't choose you, no matter how much you need them to. We should go, Marcus said, looking at me. Mom, we should leave. Wait. My father held up a hand. Don't make this dramatic. You're upset, I get it. But you're twisting what I said. I just think that maybe this year, with everything so fresh, it would be better if what? If I disappeared? If I made it easier for you to pretend your daughter doesn't exist? That's not what I'm saying. Then what are you saying, Dad? Explain it to me. Because right now, the message I'm getting is that I'm an embarrassment. That my kids are inconvenient. That we don't belong in your perfect family brunch because I had the audacity to leave a man who was lying to me every single day. He shifted his weight. Uncomfortable now. Good. You're making this harder than it needs to be. No, I took the pie from Marcus's hands and set it down on the porch railing. Very carefully. Very deliberately. I'm finally seeing things clearly. You chose a side. You chose Trevor. You chose Mitchell and his country club life and his perfect wife and his perfect twins. And you chose to make me feel like I was the problem for wanting more than a marriage built on lies. Audrey, we're leaving. Don't be childish. That word, childish, as if standing up for myself, protecting my children from this toxicity, was immature, as if I was the one behaving badly. I took Lily's hand. Marcus moved close to my other side. And we turned around. You'll regret this, my father called after us. Walking away from family like this. You'll regret it. I didn't turn back. Didn't give him the satisfaction. But as we reached a car, as I fumbled with the keys because my hands were shaking so hard, I heard the front door open wider. Voices spilled out. My brother Mitchell, asking what was going on. My father, saying something I couldn't quite hear but that made Mitchell laugh. They were laughing. We drove away in silence. Lily cried quietly in the back seat. Marcus stared out the window, his jaw clenched the same way mine was. And I drove, just drove, away from that house, away from those lights, away from the family I thought I had. We made it about 10 minutes before I had to pull over. I couldn't see through the tears. We sat in a grocery store parking lot, my kids and me, and we cried together. Marcus eventually unbuckled and climbed into the back seat with Lily, wrapping his long, gangly arms around his little sister. And they held each other while I fell apart in the driver's seat. I'm sorry, I kept saying. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault, Mom, Marcus said. None of this is your fault. But it felt like it was. It felt like I'd failed them. Failed to give them the family they deserved. The grandfather who should have loved them unconditionally. The stable, 2-parent home with the white picket fence and the golden retriever. Instead, they had me. Broke, barely keeping it together most days. Mom? Lily's voice was muffled against Marcus's shoulder. Can we go home? Home. Our little 2-bedroom apartment above the hardware store. The place where the radiator clanked and the neighbors fought and the paint was peeling in the bathroom. That home? Yeah, baby, I said, wiping my face with the back of my hand. We can go home. But we didn't. Not right away. Because as I sat there, trying to pull myself together, trying to figure out what to tell my kids about why their grandfather didn't want them. I saw it, the diner across the street. Ruby's 24-hour breakfast. Red neon sign. Cracked parking lot. The kind of place that served coffee in thick ceramic mugs and didn't judge you for crying in a corner booth. Change of plans, I said, my voice still rough. We're having our own Thanksgiving brunch. Marcus looked skeptical. At a diner? At a diner. Can I get chocolate chip pancakes? Lily asked, hope creeping into her voice. You can get whatever you want. We walked into Ruby's looking like exactly what we were. A family who'd been crying in a car. The waitress name tag said Wanda, probably in her 60s. Kind eyes took one look at us and didn't ask any questions. Just seated us in a booth by the window and brought crayons for Lily and coffee for me without being asked. Rough morning, she said gently. You could say that, she nodded. Well, you're in the right place. We specialize in rough mornings here. Lily ordered her chocolate chip pancakes. Marcus got a burger, because teenage boys can eat burgers at 10 in the morning without consequences. I ordered scrambled eggs I knew I wouldn't eat, and we sat there, in that diner. The three of us. Marcus started doodling on his paper placemat with one of Lily's crayons. Lily told us about a book she was reading at school. I drank my coffee and felt something loosening in my chest. We weren't in a house with perfect lights and expensive furniture. We weren't surrounded by people who shared our blood but not our struggles. We weren't pretending everything was fine. We were real. We were honest. We were us, Mom, Marcus said after a while, not looking up from his drawing. That thing Grandpa said, about you quitting. Marcus, you don't have to, you didn't quit. He looked up now. His eyes my eyes. The same gray-green meeting mine. You saved us. You saved yourself. That's not quitting. That's winning. Something shifted. Right there in that cheap diner booth. Something fundamental changed in how I saw myself. How I saw us. Because he was right. I hadn't quit. I'd fought. I was still fighting. Every single day I showed up for my kids. Worked my jobs. Kept us fed and clothed and safe. That was fighting. Every night I took them in and told them they were loved. That was fighting. Every morning I got up and did it all over again. That was fighting. I wasn't failing. I was surviving. And slowly, painfully, I was building something better. We stayed at Ruby's for almost 2 hours. Wanda kept our coffee cups full and didn't rush us, even though the lunch crowd was starting to trickle in. Lily colored an entire princess castle on her placemat. Marcus told us about a girl at school named Zara who maybe smiled at him yesterday. He wasn't sure, but it might have been a smile. I listened to my children laugh and watched them be kids safe. Loved kids and felt something I hadn't felt in months. It was broken by my phone buzzing. Mitchell, my brother. I let it go to voicemail. Then he called again and again. You should answer it, Marcus said. Maybe he wants to apologize. Sweet boy. Still believing people could surprise you in good ways, I answered. Put it on speaker so there'd be no secrets. We'd had enough secrets in this family, Audrey. What the hell was that? Not an apology then. What was what, Mitchell? Dad's upset. You made a scene. In front of Jennifer and the kids. You embarrassed him. I laughed. Actually laughed. I embarrassed him? You know how he is. He doesn't mean half of what he says. You're just too sensitive. Always have been, Mitchell. My voice went flat. Did you know he was going to turn us away? Silence. Long enough that I had my answer. You knew. Look. It's complicated. Trevor reached out to Dad a few weeks ago. They've been talking. And Trevor's really torn up about the divorce. And Dad thought maybe if we kept things calm, didn't force everyone together right now. Trevor cheated on me. For 3 years. People make mistakes, Audrey. And I made a mistake driving 2 hours to a family brunch I wasn't even welcome at. But here we are. You're being dramatic. That word again. Dramatic. As if my feelings were a performance. As if my pain was entertainment. Marcus, Lily, and I are sitting in a diner right now. I said calmly. We're having our own Thanksgiving brunch. With chocolate chip pancakes and burgers and coffee that costs $2 instead of $15. And you know what? We're happy. We're actually happy. So whatever you and Dad and Trevor want to tell yourselves about who's being dramatic, you go right ahead. We're done. Audrey, wait, I hung up. Lily was staring at me with wide eyes. Was Uncle Mitchell mad? Uncle Mitchell is confused, I said. But that's his problem to figure out, not ours. My phone buzzed again. This time, a text from my father. You owe me an apology. Making your brother uncomfortable in his own family gathering. This isn't like you. I showed it to Marcus. Not to burden him, but because I was done pretending. Done protecting people who wouldn't protect us. His own family gathering. Marcus read aloud. That's, wow. Can I see? Lily asked. I tilted the phone so she could read it. She was still learning to read cursive, her lips moving slightly as she worked through the words. When she finished, she looked up at me with an expression far too old for her 10 years. Grandpa's being mean again. Yeah, baby. He is. Are you going to say sorry? I thought about it. Really thought about it. What would apologizing teach my children? That when someone hurts you, you apologize for bleeding? That family gets to treat you like trash and you're supposed to smile and say thank you. No, I said. I'm not. Good. Lily picked up her orange crayon and went back to coloring. He should say sorry to us. From the mouths of babes, I typed back. I don't owe you anything. But you owe your grandchildren an explanation for why they weren't good enough for your perfect brunch. Enjoy your day. And I blocked his number. Then Mitchell's single quotes s.it felt like exhaling after holding your breath underwater. It felt like freedom. We left Ruby's around noon, stuffed full of pancakes and possibility. On the drive home, Lily fell asleep in the back seat, her glittery card still clutched in her hand. Marcus asked if we could stop at the store. What do we need? Turkey, he said, and stuffing mix, and those refrigerator rolls that come in the can that pops. We're having Thanksgiving our way. So we did. We bought a small turkey breast pre-seasoned, box stuffing, canned cranberry sauce, frozen green beans. Those ridiculous rolls that made Lily shriek with laughter when the can popped open. We bought pumpkin pie from the bakery section and a can of whipped cream. It cost $47 and change. Everything on our cart would have been a single side dish at my father's house. It was perfect that afternoon. In our tiny kitchen, Marcus looked up cooking videos on his phone while Lily set our mismatched plates on our second-hand table. I put on music, old stuff. The songs my mom used to play when I was little. Aretha Franklin, Etta James, songs about survival and strength. We cooked together. We laughed when the stuffing came out too mushy. We cheered when the turkey was actually done and not dried out. We argued about whether cranberry sauce should have ridges from the can or be smooth. Team Ridges won, obviously. And at 3:30 in the afternoon, in our little apartment with the clanking radiator, the three of us sat down to Thanksgiving dinner. Marcus said grace. He'd never done that before, but he bowed his head and said, "Thank you for this food, and for Mom, and for each other. And thank you that we got out of there before things got worse." Amen. Amen. Lily whispered. I couldn't say anything, could only nod. We ate, we talked, we told stories about things we were grateful for. And when Lily said she was grateful that Grandpa showed us who he really was so we didn't waste more time, I had to excuse myself to the bathroom to cry again. But these were different tears. These were the tears that come when something heavy finally lets go. That night, after the kids went to bed, I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of tea in my laptop. I'd been writing on and off for years, nothing serious. Just thoughts and memories and stories I never showed anyone. But tonight, I opened a new document, and I wrote it all down. Everything that happened. Every word my father said. Every moment of humiliation and hurt. But also every moment of courage. Every time my kids stood up for me. Every second in that diner when we chose ourselves. I wrote until midnight. Until my tea went cold. Until the story was done. Then I posted it on one of those websites where people share their experiences. I didn't use real names. Just called it Holiday Brunch Gone Wrong. Added a line at the end. If you've ever felt like you weren't enough for your own family, you're not alone. I went to bed not expecting anything. It was just catharsis. Just me screaming into the void. I woke up to 500 comments. By noon the next day. 5,000. By the end of the week, over 20,000 people had shared their stories. Single mothers who'd been judged by their families. Divorced fathers who'd been shut out. Adult children of narcissists. People who'd been brave enough to walk away from toxic situations and were still healing. They thanked me. They said they'd felt alone until they read my story. They said I'd given them permission to stop apologizing for other people's cruelty. One comment stuck with me. Your father didn't reject you at that door. He freed you. You just didn't know it yet. The story went somewhere I never expected. A few websites picked it up. Then a podcast reached out, wanting to interview me. Then a literary agent, asking if I'd ever considered writing a book. A book. Me, the girl who barely graduated community college. The woman who couldn't keep her marriage together. The daughter who wasn't good enough for her own father's holiday brunch. You should do it, Marcus said when I told him. You're a good writer, Mom, and people need to hear this stuff. But what if Dad sees it? What if he's angry? So, Marcus shrugged. So casual, so sure. Let him be angry. He chose that. You chose us. 3 weeks later, I signed with the agent. 6 months after that, I had a book deal. Not huge money enough to buy a car that didn't make concerning noises. Enough to move us into a 3-bedroom place where the kids didn't have to share. Enough to breathe a little easier. The book was called The Table We Set Ourselves. Stories about finding family in unexpected places. About choosing peace over blood. About teaching your children that they're worth fighting for, even when the people who should fight for them won't. My father never reached out. Neither did Mitchell. I heard through an old friend that they'd seen the article, the podcast, the book announcement. That my father was hurt I'd aired family business publicly. I thought about that a lot. How he could be hurt by me telling the truth, but saw nothing wrong with hurting me to begin with. How the family business he wanted to keep private was his treatment of his daughter and grandchildren. I thought about reaching out, making peace, being the bigger person. Then I thought about Marcus, asking if we should leave, ready to defend me. About Lily, saying Grandpa was being mean, refusing to pretend it was okay. About the thousands of people who'd written to me saying, "Thank you for showing me I wasn't crazy. Thank you for giving me permission to leave." And I let it go. The book came out on a Tuesday in November. 1 year and 3 weeks after that brunch, we had our own celebration. Ruby's Diner, of course. Wanda was working. She'd become something of a friend over the year, always asking about the kids, always remembering how we liked our coffee. She brought out a cupcake with a candle in it when we told her about the book, To New Chapters, she said, winking, To New Chapters. I repeated, that afternoon. My publicist called. You're getting some attention, she said carefully. Someone claiming to be your father posted on Facebook. It's not good. My stomach dropped. What did he say? That you've twisted the story. That he was just trying to protect his family from drama. That you're doing this for attention and money and you've hurt him deeply. She paused. It's getting shared. A lot. And people are split. Some are defending him, saying you shouldn't have aired this publicly, that family matters should stay private. I closed my eyes. And the rest? The rest are asking why, if he's so concerned about family, he didn't call you instead of posting on social media. Why he's playing victim when he turned away his daughter and grandchildren. What do you think I should do? Honestly, nothing. Let it play out. The people who get it, get it. The people who don't, they're not your audience anyway. She was right. But it still hurt. Still stung to know that even now, a year later, my father was more concerned with his image than with our relationship. With being right than making amends. That night, Marcus found me on the couch, staring at my phone. Reading comments, Mom. Stop. I can't help it. Yes, you can. He took the phone gently from my hands. You wrote your story. You told the truth. What other people do with that, that's on them. When did you get so wise? I have a really good mom. 3 days later, I got an email from my father's account, but the tone was different, softer. Audrey, it's your mother, Mom, who I hadn't spoken to in months, who'd stayed silent through all of this, who'd always chosen peace over honesty, quiet over confrontation. I read your book, all of it, in one sitting, and I need you to know something. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't stop your father that day. I'm sorry I didn't call you after. I'm sorry I let you believe that his choices were somehow your fault. I was scared. I've been scared for so long, of upsetting him, of rocking the boat, of admitting that our family wasn't what I'd pretended it was. But you were braver than me. You chose your children. You chose truth. And I'm so proud of you. I don't know if you can forgive me. I don't know if you want to see me. But I needed you to know that you were right. You are right. And you're an incredible mother. Love. Mommy read it 5 times. Then I called her. Mom? Oh, Audrey. She was crying. Oh, honey. I missed you. I said, and it was true. Even through the anger and hurt, I'd missed my mother. Missed the person she'd been before she'd shrunk herself to fit inside my father's expectations. Can I see you? See the kids? Yeah, I whispered. Yeah, Mom, you can. We met the next weekend. Just the 4 of us, me, Marcus, Lily, and my mother. At a park, neutral territory. She brought cookies she'd baked. Lily's favorite snickerdoodles she'd remembered. We walked, talked. The kids ran ahead, giving us space. And my mother apologized. Really apologized. Not the I'm sorry you feel that way non-apology, but the real thing. Taking responsibility. Acknowledging harm. Promising to do better. I'm leaving your father, she said quietly. I've already talked to a lawyer. I should have done it years ago, Mom. You showed me how. In your book. In your life. You showed me that it's not too late to choose yourself. I'm 68 years old, and I'm finally choosing myself. We cried together, hugged, started building something new. My father sent one more email after he found out my mother had left. It was vicious. Blamed me for destroying the family. Said I'd poison his wife against him. Called me selfish, vindictive, cruel. I read it once. Then I deleted it. And I never looked back. A year later, the table we set ourselves hit the bestseller list. I did interviews, book tours, met people who'd lived versions of my story, who'd found the courage to walk away from situations that were killing them slowly. I started getting letters, emails, messages from people saying, "You saved my life. You gave me permission to save my own life." And I realized something. My father was right about one thing. I did throw everything away that day. I threw away the pretense, the fake smiles, the exhausting performance of pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. I threw away the version of myself that apologized for taking up space, that made herself smaller so other people could feel big. I threw away the lie that family meant suffering in silence, that love meant accepting crumbs and calling it a feast. And in throwing all that away, I found what I'd been looking for all along, a family that chose each other every day, that showed up, told the truth, held space for hard things. Marcus is 15 now. He's taller than me, deep-voiced, thinking about colleges. He wants to study psychology, says he wants to help families heal. I tell him he already has. Lily is 12, still drawing, but now she's creating graphic novels about brave girls who save themselves. She's read every draft, offered notes, celebrated every win. And me? I'm Audrey. Single mom, author, survivor, fighter, woman who walked away from a toxic brunch and into the rest of her life. I still go to Ruby's sometimes. Wanda still works there, though she's training to retire soon. She always asks about the kids, always remembers how I like my coffee. Last time I was there, she said, "You know what I remember most about that day? When you first walked in? That we'd been crying? That you hadn't given up." She refilled my cup. "Lots of people come in here broken, but most of them stay broken. You came in broken and decided to heal. Right there in that booth. That's not common, honey. That's special." Maybe she's right. Or maybe I just finally learned what my kids already knew, that the table you set yourself, with people who choose you, who see you, who celebrate you, that's the feast. Everything else is just noise. And I'm done listening to noise. I'm done apologizing for being too much or not enough. I'm done shrinking. I'm done pretending that blood is thicker than respect, than kindness, than love. My father never apologized, never reached out except to blame. Last I heard, he tells people I broke his heart. that he doesn't know what he did wrong. That family used to mean something before kids these days decided it was okay to just walk away. He's entitled to his story. I'm living mine. And mine includes chocolate chip pancakes at diners, radiators that clank but keep us warm, laughter over mismatched dishes, kids who know their worth, a mother who finally found hers. Mine includes the truth. And the truth set us free. Every Thanksgiving now, we go to Ruby's first. Have our pancakes, our tradition, our remembering of the day we chose ourselves. Then we come home and cook together, our way, with canned cranberry sauce and ridiculous pop-up rolls, and so much love it fills every corner of our little apartment that became our home. And at the end of the night, when the dishes are done and the kids are in bed, I sit with my tea and my laptop and I write. I write for the woman who's sitting at a family table right now, feeling invisible, for the single parent who's wondering if they made the right choice, for the child who's learning that sometimes the people who are supposed to love you don't, and that's their failure, not yours. I write so they know they're not alone. So they know there's another side to this pain. So they know that walking away from what hurts you isn't quitting, it's winning. And we won. My kids and me. We won.